this week's Texas Roadhouse press conference. We've got a lot going on, especially this weekend. Tomorrow night's the Justin Kerrigan Show at Scratch Kitchen across the street. That will be broadcast on Rock 95.1 from 6 to 7 o'clock. Thursday, we've got volleyball. They're back at home this weekend. They take on Tarleton State at 7 o'clock. And men's soccer is on the road, kicking off their final road trip of the season at 7 o'clock in San Antonio against St. Mary's. Friday kicks off basketball season really early this year. Men are at the G2 Kickoff Classic. They're taking on Concordia Irvine in their first of 3 games at 5:15 Odessa time in Orange, California. Saturday, men's and women's swimming and diving is taking on Austin College in Sherman, Texas at 10 o'clock. Volleyball is back at home, closing out the weekend against Dallas Baptist at noon. Men's soccer and women's soccer are both on the road at 1 o'clock. The men are taking on Texas A&M International. The women have Lubbock Christian in Lubbock. Football is back at home at 6 o'clock, taking on Eastern New Mexico. And the men are playing their second of 3 games against Ferris State out in California at 7:30. Sunday, the men close out their weekend with their 3rd game against Wayne State at 5:15 Odessa time. All right, today we'll get started with men's basketball junior Adam Rivera. All right, so Adam, if you'll just start off, talk about getting ready for the season to start this week.
Yeah, super excited about it. I think more than anything, we're just excited to play someone other than ourselves in practice. I think it'll be a really good test, playing a good team right out of the gate. Concordia, number 10 in the country, so really excited to see who we are at this early in the season.
A lot of new guys on the team. How y'all been able to gel so far?
I think just spending a lot of time together off the court. I think we're just a really close group, and also it's a team that the guys like to get in the gym a lot on their own. So I think that working on our games on our own time has helped us kind of gel.
For you as the returner, I know just generally, just given the nature of it, there's always a lot of new guys on these teams, and you and some of the other guys that are coming back, what have you been trying to tell the new guys just in terms of getting them settled in and used to kind of the culture and what's expected and the program and all that?
Well, yeah, like you said, this is my 3rd year with Coach Newman, so more than anything, just letting them know what he expects from them and what to expect from them as far as culture and our goals every year, and just the day-to-day stuff that I know about, and just trying to pass that on.
Adam, when you put your team on the floor, what are some of the strengths of this team?
Offense, for sure. We've got guys that can really make plays, guys that can really shoot it. And then I think when we want to, we can be a really good defensive team. And so just continuing to play hard, and we can really play well on both ends of the floor.
You get to take a trip to California. You kind of looking forward to that. I don't know if you've ever been before, if the guys on the team have been before, but
yeah.
What are you maybe looking forward to or hoping to get out of this trip?
I mean, yeah, I think it'll be a really fun trip. Not a lot of teams get to make a trip like that, especially this early on. So it'll be a lot of fun to kind of just be away from all the noise in Odessa for a couple days and enjoy it together, and then compete together for 3 days straight.
How do you think this early tournament can kind of help y'all out as the season goes on? I know this is a big tournament, like you mentioned, and so early in the season, and when the season really starts to get going, you think they can play a factor from starting so early?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're going to play 3 really good teams right off the bat, and I think that playing teams like that early on is really going to help us out later on in conference. We can play, because I think conference every night is going to be a battle. So 3 early battles is really going to prepare us down the road. We can look back and say, hey, we played this team this early on. This didn't work, this worked. And so kind of just teaching points early on in the season that can help us down the road.
So good.
All right, thanks, Adam. All right, we'll keep going with men's basketball and head coach Josh Newman.
You just have Adam do it all the time. He did great.
Yeah, I know that.
So yeah, obviously it's basketball season now. It's kind of amazing that it's taken this long to get here, but in the same breath, I'm amazed that it's here. It came kind of fast. We get to go to California and play in one of the most prestigious basketball tournaments for Division II. And like Adam said earlier, we're going to play 3 very good quality teams. All 3 of them are coming off 21 victories from last season. They've got a lot of experience, a lot of maturity, and we will be tested right off the bat. But that's kind of why I wanted to go to the tournament, is one, to get UTV on the national scene, and at the same time test our basketball team and find out where we're at and kind of work out some things to get ready for what will be a grueling conference schedule.
And you talked about trying to finding where y'all are at. What did you think you're trying to look forward to find during this Anaheim trip?
Our identity, honestly, that's kind of what we're trying to figure out. You know, we know our personnel. We do have some talented young men. I do think this team has done a great job of growing together off the floor. And of all the teams I've had, this team is one of the closer teams. So it's going to be interesting to see, once adversity hits though, how close they can remain, or what's going to kind of maybe try to separate us. So these kind of tournaments, these kind of events are great for that. But we're trying to look for our identity. You know, what's going to be our identity defensively, offensively, and I think that this weekend we'll find out how much better idea we are.
To that point, leaning on, how hard do you lean on the guys that are returning to help you shape the team underneath?
You know, I think you can lean on certain guys different ways. The guys on return, you got Adam Rivera, Miles Washington, and Isaac Hernandez. And Isaac's going to sit the first semester and potentially play second semester. But those other two, you can lean on them in certain ways, but they're not very outspoken. You need to kind of lean on them in terms of their experience and by example, because those guys do a great job of leading by example. But we need a new young man on our team to lead by his voice. And by his actions. And so we're going to find out right away out in California who's going to step up to that challenge and lead our team.
Coach, you mentioned a lot to learn, still trying to find that identity. What do you know about your team so far?
Well, as Adam mentioned, I know we can score. We can shoot. We're very skilled. I think we're going to be able to play fast. I don't know if we're going to play at record speed fast, but I like our skill level, and I actually think we can shoot the ball at every position. You know, Adam's going to play some 5 for us, and he's as good as three-point shooter in the league. So I think we're going to be able to spread the floor and put a lot of pressure on defense with our perimeter shooting.
So throughout this tournament, are you having a game plan of switching up different starting lineups, or do you think you have kind of a starting lineup that you're going to go throughout the whole tournament, or what?
So the game plan is to win a game. That's the plan. A game, every game. And so we're going to adjust accordingly. I would say we're playing 3 different styles. Concordia, who's currently ranked number 10 in the country, they want to get up and down, and they're going to mirror us in terms of playing in transition, open floor. And then the next night, we're going to team like Ferris State. They want to play fast, but they also have an inside game. And the third night is completely contrast to the other teams, where it's going to be a slower pace, much more possession-oriented basketball game. So we'll have a different plan, but the reality is we don't really know what we're getting into because nobody's played a game yet. And each team has different personnel. You can go by last year's tendencies, but you know we're different than last year. So it's going to be one of those things that it's going to be figure it out during the first time out, watch the game, figure it out the next day, and just kind of keep doing what we need to do. And we're going to learn a lot. It's a learning through the process.
How do you expect these teams that you're going to face to test you guys in some areas that they'll present challenges? Because I know, like you said, Concordia's top 10. I believe Ferris State, they were, what, national champions?
2 years ago, yeah. So I think what you're going to see is you're going to see culture. You know, you're going to see a couple teams that kind of have an identity already established because they have a lot more returners than we do. I think you're going to see some physical play, something that we haven't been able to really simulate in our practice. So I think that's going to be something that's going to be eye test right off the bat is, oh wow, this is what it's going to be like. And after that first time out, you know, we're going to have to look at each other and say, okay, let's adjust to the current situation and how are we going to be better moving forward.
Okay.
How much did you know about the teams that were going to be in this tournament when you got into it? Did you have a sense of the field, or did
you know, when we got the opportunity to be in the field, I said it didn't matter. I knew they're going to be really good because not everybody can go to this tournament and not everybody gets invited. One of the things that when we did get invited to the tournament, everybody in the league had said, hey, how'd you guys get into that? I'm not going to tell them how because I don't want to share the secret, but as soon as we got the invite, we knew we're playing 3 very good quality basketball teams. We just didn't know where from or how good.
Good.
Thanks, Coach. Thank you. You guys are
Okay, next up is head men's soccer coach James Peterson. His Falcons are coming off a 3-0 win over UT Tyler yesterday.
Where? Yeah, just like Ryan said, we just came off a 3-0 win yesterday. Kind of a weather snafu, so it kind of throws a wrench in how we train because we usually have Sunday off, and it's kind of throwing us off a little bit where we had to play on Sunday. So, but they played really well. Time of possession, we dominated on that and actually put in a couple goals early in the first half and kind of coasted from there.
Coach, last 3 games, 2 wins and a tie. Have you noticed something different? Have they maybe figured something out, or what's going on with you guys now?
I guess I would say, unlike Justin's team, we actually got quite a few new players back that have been on the injured list. And now we're back in the same place we were. We lost a starter on Friday at practice. We lost another one Saturday at practice. And then we lost one Sunday during the game. So we're kind of back where we were before, where we got a couple starters that are not going to be able to play this week, and that's going to really hurt us. But I think that's what kind of started, as we were getting some healthy bodies back in key positions that we really needed to help in.
You talked about getting those goals early. How does that kind of affect the rest of the game when you get off to a hot start like that?
I think for us, if we score first, then I think we're much better off, because we kind of calms us down and we relax a little bit, knowing that if they're going to beat us, they got to score two. So getting that first goal was crucial, and we were fortunate enough to get it right off the bat, and then we scored another one right before half. So that we just kind of coasted from there, like I said.
What are you expecting to kind of game Thursday in San Antonio?
Wow. Well, if you do your homework, you'll know that St. Mary's just beat Midwestern on Saturday night. So they kind of took over their little conference leader right now. And they've beat them twice this year. So St. Mary's is nobody to laugh at. That's probably going to be the most important game this Thursday. We're going to have to play really great, and they're going to have a little bit of a letdown. They're a really strong team this year, really strong.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
All right.
All right, and we'll close out today with head football coach Justin Kerrigan.
Yeah, definitely the opposite of Dennis. We're not getting anybody back. We lost 5 Saturday. We'll know as the week kind of progresses how many are, if any, are coming back, and how many of those guys that we lost potentially will be done for another week or two. So
We talked about red shirts last year. How many did you have to use this week?
we didn't end up pulling any, thankfully. So we're trying to hang on as best we can. By the fourth quarter, it was tough picking. It's kind of a scratch your head type of deal there for a little bit of just trying to piece some guys in to preserve some red shirts and try to get through 4 quarters.
Even with your offensive line going down like they did, Sutton had a good game.
Sutton had a great game. Ran hard. I think he earned every bit of it. I think up front offensively, for the first quarter, we showed our abilities. I kind of highlighted that yesterday in our offensive meetings. The way we were able to physically dominate the first quarter. Had 2 good drives, one finishing in a touchdown. Once we can figure out how to play like that for 4 quarters, will be tough to defend. And having Davion with as many carries as he had, I think wore down a little bit. I mean, he was delivering some blows. Talked about going into that game, Angelo's defense was giving up on average 86 yards rushing a game, and I think it was 2.8 yards a carry. And Davion had 110 by himself, 5 yards a carry. A lot of that was him running hard, but the offensive line, even when we started piecing some guys in there in different spots, guys playing positions they'd never played. At one point, I think we had 4 new offensive linemen on the field. He still ran hard and did really well. So hopefully we'll have him for the next 3 weeks, delivering some punishment.
How important do you think it is for your guys? It seems like every game this season, you guys have had at least a quarter that you've been able to hang your hat on and kind of go back, like you said, even after a tough loss, kind of point to, we hung with these guys for this nice little stretch here. How important do you think that is, especially given the adversity you guys have been facing?
Well, I don't think it's important necessarily to say that we hung with anybody for a quarter. I think it's important for them to recognize their ability and then start to learn how do we piece it together for 4 quarters? How can we be a little bit more consistent? And I think for starters, we've got to be consistent just with the 11 guys we have on the field, which we have not been able to do so far through 8 games. And I think that's part of it. It's not always by choice. Guys get injured, go down, it's part of the game. I think a little bit of it just is the consistency of the guys going on the field and playing with each other and understanding and having a rhythm in the game a little bit. And we just haven't been able to find that. Unfortunately, a lot of it just due to injuries.
Coach, I'm looking at the numbers here. Eastern New Mexico runs for almost 400 yards per game. What do you guys need to do this week to handle that and slow that down?
Well, we got to stop all three options. Triple option offense. If they don't give it to the dive back, then you got to figure out how to stop the quarterback and the pitch man. And it's an incredible challenge. We've done a great job our first 3 years here. I think Coach Martin, Coach Minio have done a tremendous job each and every year. I know the last two for sure. We had defended them better than anybody on their schedule by yardage and by points. So we're gonna rely on them like we have every other week for the defense to keep us in this game and again see if our offense can't have a little bit more consistency this week and give us a chance in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, after 2 road games and going to Nebraska, how does it feel to come back home?
I know for me personally, it feels really good. I haven't gotten any sleep. I don't know if I'll get any more this week, but it'll sure be trying to sleep on the bus. I think most of our guys would agree with that. It's always good to be home in Permian Basin for sure.
Coach, talking about defense again, you mentioned how important they'll be, of course, again this week. But Chris Hode, a leader on that side of the ball, set a new career high for tackles in your game on Saturday. We talk about him a lot, but again, what does he just mean to your defense, and then what is he like as a player?
Well, I think what you see on the field, stats on paper are a great reflection of the work that he puts in. That's one thing we try to share with our guys, especially the younger guys, is understanding that that's all earned. It's just not that he's a better talent than anybody taking the field. He spends countless hours watching film, charting every play that the opposing offense is running. On days off in voluntary time, he's in the weight room with Coach Jurgle and Coach Martin, strength coach, Coach Martin. They're doing yoga and things like that to try to keep himself in good condition, in good shape, and everything that he accomplishes on the field and the production that he has, I think is a great testament to his work ethic and just personal desire to be great. Ideally, we want all of our guys to see that, understand that, and then try to mimic that.
Just kind of bouncing off that, how impressive too is it, just given your numbers in some areas and how long, especially the defense was on the field, to see a guy and maybe for his teammates to see it, a fellow guy, go out there and go with that kind of motor for that long.
Yeah, it's impressive. I think most impressive is just that he's able to stay somewhat healthy. And again, I think it's just a testament to how well he takes care of his body. I said on his off days, which are Mondays for us, he's generally, in the weight room and getting some yoga in and things like that, and making sure that, he's staying strong, lifting weights. But again, I think, unfortunately, I think a lot of what he does probably won't be appreciated by his teammates until they're done. For some of them, ideally, you want them to appreciate it and understand it now, and then again, like I said, mimic it. Try to be like him.
Are you gonna get anybody back this week that you know of yet or not?
That I know of yet, no. I think we will. At what capacity, how healthy are they going to be? No, I don't know that. The other question is there's some other guys that are questionable on our injury report that I haven't mentioned, and we're hoping that we have them for Saturday. So I'm hoping that we don't lose anybody else between now and game time. All right, thank you guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Coach.
you,
Coach.